I'm Paranormal Pete, and I'm on a journey to seek answers to the questions that have crossed all of our minds. What happens to us when we die? Is there an afterlife? I'm a regular guy who discovered the gift of psychic mediumship in my 30s. My passion for history and the unknown have put me right here, right now. My mantra for anything paranormal is, we don't know much and anything is possible. Join me as we find our way through the stories, evidence, and experiences of the paranormal and beyond in search of answers, even if that leads to more questions. Are you with me? All right, welcome everybody to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea, and my gosh, we're more than halfway through July here. Can't believe it. Very excited for a special guest tonight, longtime friend of the show, and Port Gamble and me and everybody. Ankhasha Amenti will be on with us, and so we'll bring her on here in just a minute. But thanks for tuning in. By the way, you can find us all over the place. Right here, WLTK-DB on all the socials. Just type that in. And then also, just go to the website. There's so much stuff on there to go through. We've got an app now on the station. So you can go to your Android store or Google Play Store or the Apple Store and download that. There's always something on, whether it's a replay or something live. So there's always something going on in the app. So definitely check it out. Just type in on the Play Store or Apple Store, WLTK-DB, and you should find it there. But yeah, please go through the website. There's new shows, and we just keep adding them here. So big shout out to Todd Bates, station manager, and Sherry as well, for all the work that they put in growing the station. And right now we're in the middle of an advertising campaign. And if you want to contribute to help us take the next level up here as a station, go to the website, WLTK-DB.com, and find the donate button. Every little bit helps, but we're stepping up to the next level here on Internet Talk Radio and having a blast doing it. So yeah, please check out the new shows that are coming out. There's just some fantastic hosts and shows coming up. So there's all the archived episodes as well. So there's a lot to listen to. And if you like my show, you're going to love the other shows. So please go check them out. Great stuff going on there. And anytime you want to step in, say hello. We got Hi Robin. Thanks for listening. And let us know where you're coming from and say hello. We encourage questions here on the station, especially this show. So feel free to ask questions as we kind of go through topics tonight. Big shout out to my friend Mike Beers, producer for the show. He's always a big help for the show. So hey, Mike. And if you like the intro music to the show, that's my band Steady Rock Cosmonaut. We're actually playing in Bremerton on Friday night at a place called McLeod's. You can find us at steadyrockcosmonaut.com or on Facebook, Steady Rock Cosmonaut. So hope you like the music. And if you want to hear more, just look us up. Next week, I've got author Tracy Shearer coming on. I'm excited for that. She's been to the Port Gamble Ghost Conference and Oregon Ghost Conference, and we're going to have a great conversation there. And just a reminder, I'm taking August off. So there won't be any live shows during August, but I'll be back rip roaring in September. And right now I'm really excited. I'm getting ready for the OC Paracon down in Anaheim. It's the first in-person conference of that kind down there in Anaheim. It's October 1st and 2nd. So I'm very honored to be one of the presenters, and I'll also be on a panel about broadcasting the paranormal. And I'll be there available to do readings all weekend. So if anybody's in the area or planning a trip down there, hopefully you can come by my booth, say hello. But you can get tickets, see details, everything at ocparacon.com. And again, that's October 1st and 2nd coming up there. And then, of course, got the Port Gamble Ghost Conference coming up, the 13th annual conference. I can't believe it's been 13 years. I came in on the second year, so it's my 12th one. Anybody out there listening, if you've been to all 13 of them, say hey, and we'll give you a shout out here. But that's November 11th through 13th, and you can find out information on that at portgamble.com and go to the events tab, and you'll see Ghost Conference there. So November 11th through 13th. And my special guest tonight is always a part of the conference, and we always love to have her. And so she's going to be doing a psychic medium gallery reading Saturday night of the conference. So tickets will be available real soon for that, and info will be posted on the website very soon. So always excited to have that event. And it's just going to be a fun time. Wait till you see what I got in store for everybody. So I think it's going to be a good one. And I've also got some ghost walks and special investigations coming up. And of course, we do them a little bit later in the summertime because ghosts don't come out until the dark, right? So there's special times for the summertime. First time I'm doing these tours in the summer. And it's been a lot of fun because we've actually had some activity going on. Some of the best evidence and activity I've captured here in Port Gamble has been in the summertime. So we're having some fun on the tours and, having some activity happen and in general spooky feelings going on. So it's been a lot of fun. You can go to portgambleparanormal.com and you can get tickets for those there and see the dates, and you can book a reading with me through the website. So I hope you can go over there and check it out, and make sure you follow this show on Facebook at Paranormal Pete Show. And we got a couple other people here commenting. Nikki Cribbs, hey, thanks for listening. And Port Gamble Ghost Conference. So we got to go again. Yep. If you've been before, you got to go again, right? That's how it works. And Nikki, thanks for the comments. Seriously, had the best time at Port Gamble Ghost Conference. Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. Well, we've got a very special guest on tonight, and we're going to talk about a few different things, namely her new book. So I can't wait to get into the conversation, but longtime friend of the show, and certainly of Port Gamble and our long-term residents, and somebody I've learned a lot from. Miss Ankhasha Amenti is a professional psychic medium and a hypnotist specializing in past life regressions, and a field investigator with the Office of Paranormal Investigations. She's appeared on television, radio, and in the books Ghost Hunting, How to Investigate the Paranormal, A Paranormal Casebook, and Ghost Detective Guides to Haunted San Francisco by Loyd Auerbach, great friend of hers. She's also been invited to become a Windbridge certified research medium in 2011. Her certification involved 8 thorough screening, testing, and training steps, during which her ability to report accurate and specific information about the deceased was scientifically tested under blinded conditions by Windbridge Institute Director of Research, Julie Beischel, PhD. She's also contributing author for Ghost Magazine and is an ordained minister, having spent a lot of time in a devout religious structure. She's able to assist others in transcending the myths and constraints of belief systems. And I'll just leave it right there. We got to get her on, and I got so much to talk to her about. Welcome to the show, Ankhasha. How you doing?
Hi, Pete. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here tonight.
Yeah, well, thanks for carving time out. And Nikki's commenting, we've been twice. It's a blast. Yeah. How many have you been to, Ankhasha? Have you been to all 13?
I only missed one.
That was last year.
That was last year when I was terribly
Oh,
sick. Terribly
yeah.
sick. So I
Yeah.
broke my
That was
streak.
crazy. That was
Was
crazy. And
yes,
good friend
yes,
William Becker and I stepped in to help her out
yes.
for her event. And I got to tell you, I was probably the most nervous I've ever been. Trying to step in, and do right by you. So that was pretty crazy. Nikki saying hi, Ankhasha.
Hi, Nikki.
Michael Christopher, good evening. Thanks for watching. And if you guys have questions as we go through things, please comment wherever you're watching the stream from. Just comment and I'll see it. We'll get it on there. And even if you just want to shout out there. So what have you been up to lately? We haven't caught up for a while.
Absolutely. Well, I would say that for the last 4 years, I've been writing a book, and it just was published June 1st.
Congrats.
And thank you. Thank you so much. I will let everyone know, though, that for the next 3 or 4 days, if they try and order it, they won't be able to order it, but they will at most likely by this coming weekend. So there's just a little hitch with something. It's been published and people have been ordering it, but I have it on hold because of something we're going to be doing with a new publisher possibly. So it's called Crossing a Sea of Stars.
I will order it when it comes back out
Yes.
available. And Nikki was just asking, "Ooh, what's your book called?" Well, you just answered that one.
Oh, it was a
Um,
psychic hit. No,
yeah,
I just joking.
exactly. So you spent a lot of time working on this book, and is this your first book that you've published?
It is. For many years, people were asking me to write a book, and I thought about writing a book, but I'm not a world famous medium. So, like some of the ones who are on television all the time and things like that. So I thought it just felt a little strange to be writing my biography. And then, of course, 4 years ago, unexpectedly, very unexpectedly, my beautiful 34-year-old daughter took her own life. And I know that's a very heavy subject,
Yeah,
but
it's a very real subject, though.
very much so. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone, I think, was shocked a few days ago when a young man who was such a brilliant up and coming comedian took his own life, too.
Yes.
Um, and I'm sure everyone has been touched by suicide at a different time in their lives, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a friend of someone that they know. And her death was very, very shocking to all of us, to all of her friends, because she was very outgoing, very well loved. She had a very successful business. She made a lot of money, all the things that you think outwardly would bring you happiness. It's
Right.
what everyone strives for, right?
Yep.
Is all these type of successes. And yet inside she had some internal issues that contributed to it. And it was very, very sad for all of us. But as we as we've never really recovered. But I don't think you really recover. Anyone who says that you
Yeah.
recover and you completely heal and you go on and your whole life is hunky-dory from that point, that's not reality. Even
Right.
someone in my position who knows that we continue on and who
Yeah.
works with people from the other side all the time, it still is challenging to lose
You
someone.
you're still here. You're still human.
Yes,
No matter what you do as a
right.
career or as a passion, you're still a person, and you still feel things.
Absolutely. And I felt when I wrote the book, I had to be very honest about that experience and honest about how we reacted and our feelings and the questions that we asked of ourselves and what we went through.
Right.
And I realized that there were so many people in the people that I work with who come to me for readings who have lost someone, and many who've lost them by suicide. And it's such a layered loss. There's so many questions that are left unanswered, and there's
Yeah.
so much guilt and shame and blame around suicide
Right.
that people are kind of afraid to address it. So I thought, I'm going to write this book. I finally knew this is the book that I'm supposed to write,
Right.
right?
That's incredible. And we got a few people chiming in here. Michael saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Michael?
Robin also, "I'm so sorry." Nikki, "It's so
Okay.
tragic. Sorry you're going through that." And of
Okay.
course, yeah, I echo those sentiments there.
Yeah.
Michael is saying that he's lost two brothers and a sister. You never get over it.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right.
We're still human, and we have to accept that.
Right.
I think did you at some point feel like You said, people may not want to address it, but did you feel like at some point, like an urge to like rise above everything? Like, did you, in a sense, you kind of push things down, I think, when you do that? Did you ever kind of have to go through that where you felt like, okay, I just got to rise above all this, push all this down? Kind of how did you have any experiences like that?
To push all of this down, meaning
Emotions, the
emotion.
feelings, did you feel like you had to go through a time of like being above all that,
Well, I will say that at first, it was such a shock
Mhm.
that the first thought that went through my mind is, why didn't I know that this was going to happen? And so immediately I kind of turned inward and said, what is going on here? Because that's what people come to me for a lot of times is, can you tell me what's going to happen with this, that, or the other thing? And
Yeah.
can you connect me to someone? And so that was difficult for me to deal with. It created a lot of internal dialogue with myself about why I didn't know. And the interesting thing was that for the about a year or so prior to my daughter's death, I kept telling Stephanie, who's my best friend, and my husband, those are the two people I told, I feel like death is standing right next to me all the time. Death is stalking me. And it didn't scare me, but because I'm very resigned to death,
Mhm.
but it I felt it was my death. And so I started to prepare, and I made sure that we have will, of course we have a will, and everything
Mhm.
was written down, and I even wrote, my funeral service out, who
Oh,
I wanted,
geez.
everything. I was very, but it was fine. It wasn't something, I was fixated on. I just knew something like that was going to happen.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden this happened. And I think that many times people look at a psychic, or we look at ourselves and we say, well, if I'm intuitive, if I'm an empath, if I'm a psychic, if I'm a medium, shouldn't I know these things? Shouldn't I be able to see my path clearly? I think it's the opposite. I think we're not meant all the time to see our path. We would never learn the lessons we need to learn.
I
If
think I think you are spot on with that. I totally agree. It's the other way around.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can see other people's things,
Sure, sure,
you know,
right,
but you can't help yourself, and I think it's purposeful that way.
right,
You know, spirits, our spirit guides and the universe has, had this figured out for so long,
right,
you
right.
know.
Yes,
And I totally agree with you. It's an interesting, it's not what you would naturally think. Like you said, you would naturally think, well, I should see this, I should know this.
yes.
Um, so it's an incredible thought, and I totally agree with it. It is really the other way around. Do you for close friends or your husband, do you find it more challenging to get information for someone that you know so well in life, or you've known for 30 years or something?
Mhm.
Is it harder?
I think you have to be truthful and say, yes, it would be, because you know so much that it's very difficult to suss out what is the known and what is the unknown there, and what you're reading into. Another piece of it is what you expect and what you hope for that person. So if
Right.
that person is saying, if your best friend is saying, gee, am I going to get this job? As a best friend, on that level, you want to encourage them. You want to give them confidence, and you want to boost them and say, you're going to get it. Don't worry. You're the best person for the job. And that's difficult to kind of push that aside and
Yeah.
really be very neutral in it.
Right.
I
Right.
did when my husband had his business, I would not tell him necessarily some things I would see with him, but also many of those things might have been things that I was hoping for, right?
Sure.
But I did help him, kind of think about people that I didn't know, people I hadn't even met. He would just say, I hired someone for XYZ position. what do you think's going to happen? And I would start to look at it, and I could project and tell him exactly what was going to happen. Sometimes he didn't like the information, but it always seemed, he would say, oh, no, 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 no. And then it would come to pass. And then he started coming to me.
Well, and as a medium, you have to tell it like it is.
That's right. That's right.
It's not our job to interpret.
That's right.
You just got to say what it is. And
absolutely.
Yeah, a couple people was just agreeing with Michael. I couldn't agree more about your thought about it's the opposite of what you would normally think it is. And Nikki saying that makes sense. And it really is. So, the context of the book, that what happened with your daughter taught you about life, death, and the afterlife.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit of each of those? Like, what did it teach you about life? What did it teach you about death? And what did it teach you about the afterlife? And sorry to pile all those on one, but
Sure. Well, one thing I should say is that after my daughter's death, we knew she was a writer. She was, in fact, being very, some people had seen some of the writings she'd done on social media and had encouraged her to write a book, not me, but her, and had said, this needs to be published. And she was extremely funny. In fact, the week before her death, she was rehearsing to do a stand-up comedy at a stand-up comedy club. She had decided she was going to do it. All of her friends said, you need to do it. So she was very set on this is great. I'm going to go forward and pursue writing. That was one of my last conversations I had with her. So we discovered a lot of her journals, even some that went all the way back to childhood and her high school years. And we started, it was quite a process, but we started putting all of those together. And it was interesting how she foresaw just about everything that was going to happen to her. And one thing is that Loyd Auerbach met her just one time, and it was years ago. It was, I think she must have been 20 at that time, 19 or 20. And he told her, he said, Amber was her name. Amber, you're like the whole package. He said, you have psychic abilities. You're great with that. You're great with people. She was this little tiny thing. And he said, you're just a firecracker. You would do so well in media. You would be a next star because you're beautiful and you're smart and you're outgoing. And she said, oh no, there's only room for one psychic in this family. And she went on to do something else with her life. But she was that way. She had a tremendous intuition. So she wrote about it. And many of the things that as we read, she was really foreseeing what her life was going to be. And even there were times where if you read the book, you can see she was foreseeing her death, or she could see what was going to happen to her.
Wow.
Which is kind of astounding, but she kept those writings kind of hidden from us. So one thing that her death really taught me was that our lives here are so precious. This time that we have, and this time that we have is so important for us to connect with other people, to stay connected to other people. And it's so easy in this world to become disconnected. We talk about social media all the time and social media connections, but it's not, that's wonderful, but it also can be a very false world.
Right.
And it's more important to be able to look at someone, whether it can be, you can talk to someone on the phone or see them on Zoom, but you have to stay emotionally connected to people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're not really connected on social media from a natural sense of us as human beings and going, back through evolution or whatever you believe in. Yeah. it's not that same connection. And I think you're right that it's often more, you may feel more connected online and everything,
Mhm.
but really look at everything else around you and you probably
Mhm.
find you're disconnected from so much in your
Yes.
life, and it's a double-edged sword. And it's the world we live in now, and
Yes.
it's probably not going away. And no, I totally agree. And that's a great sentiment, and that you were able to pick up on it through going through everything that,
Mhm.
yeah, life. Would you also say, like, I preach on the show all the time about, taking time to be present, be there
Absolutely.
with the people you were with, and
Yes.
what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's extremely important that the moments, even if you have just a moment to be with someone, that you put your phone down, you put your computer down, you look at someone and you really listen, not just, "Hey, how was your day?" "Okay, great." I've had people say that to me before, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "Not so good." And then they're like, "Oh, great. Okay, super." Well, and they go on because they're not really listening to you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's important to um, put those things away. I think families honestly shouldn't have them at the table when they're eating together.
Sure.
Put them away. I know it's hard because especially kids, they want to have their game and they want to see what's going on, and it's boring. Well, if that problem is boring, then engage them more
Yeah.
because it really is important. And one of the things that I talk about in the book too is that social media is a false illusion. And I'm gonna tell you, I won't name any names, but when I see a client and then they connect with me on social media, which just be aware, folks, if you do connect with me, I'm not a good technology person, so if I hit the like button or something, that's about all I can do. Sometimes I can comment, sometimes I can't, but they they will come to me and they will have terrible things going on in their personal lives,
Yeah.
and yet their social media reflects this perfect, happy life where I have had people who are ready to divorce, who show nothing but beautiful pictures of their family with, he's my soulmate."
Right. It's our avatars. It's
Right.
your
Yes.
online avatar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah,
it's important to be real.
yeah, exactly. And it's hard to
Mhm.
do that. And then Michael Christopher is commenting saying, "True, we've gotten so comfortable saying things to people over the internet that we would not say to in person."
Yes.
And it's exactly right. And Nikki's
Mhm.
commenting, yes, put the phone down and take time and make the effort to truly connect with someone, have a conversation, and listen, in all caps.
Right.
Not
Right.
only not only hear, but listen.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. It's I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what people could do about it, except I guess it's on everybody as an individual to make that step and and take an effort to put the phone down. And
Mhm.
I guess it's on everybody as an individual, because there's no
Right.
way to, at least I haven't thought of a way, or any, how could you get mass amounts of people to do that? Well, you'd have to do it on social media so that they know about it.
That's
So
Well,
I
I'll
don't.
just do it. My whole philosophy is it's important that we one at a time, right? Do
Yeah.
what we feel is the right thing to do, and we make connections one at a time. And
Yep.
if we can be on social media and we can change hundreds of thousands of people's minds, that's wonderful. But I know all we're responsible for really is how we interact with people that we do meet
Right.
and the things we do say. So I want to make people understand that when they're talking to me, even if it's only for a few minutes, they are the most important person talking to me. It's not
Yeah.
my phone. It's not, something telling me I've got a reading scheduled. It's not anything like that. It's
Yeah.
what they're sharing with me is the most important thing. and
Right.
um, and they can be honest with me too.
Yeah.
I think that's important, and so that's what I tried to do in the book too. I could have written a book, and I have seen books very similar with, oh, I knew this, I knew that, my spirit guides told me this, I knew this was going to happen, everything was, I knew it all, and I'm so happy, and I'm so perfect, and I've risen above all of you. So
Right.
buy my book. I don't believe that at all. I know some of these people who've written these books. I'm like, no,
Right.
that's not you. So I just said, I need to be honest. I need to be honest about my life. And that's something that my daughter was very open and honest, but she did hide things
Yeah.
from people because she didn't want to have people think that she wasn't happy. That was a big thing with her. So she was, she put that face on all the time of happiness, and inside there was a lot more going on.
Yeah, and you just can't ever really know what's inside somebody,
Right.
and accepting that, can make it, I think, maybe a little easier. Nikki
Mhm.
had a quote she wanted to share,
Mhm.
that you should always listen twice as much as you speak. And Robin saying, agreeing, yes, and she wanted to say that she's had the opportunity to speak with you before the live event, and she can speak from experience. And Kasha, you're very kind, patient, and a wonderful listener. So
Thank you.
practicing what you practicing what you preach. Right.
Right.
And hey, we're gonna have to take a quick station break here, and we'll be coming back. I want to talk more about what you learned about the afterlife,
Mhm.
through the process of writing your book, and talk a little bit about your process. We don't want to give too much of the book away, but I want to talk about a little bit of the process, and that you went through, and how, just everything that comes along with it. And so we're going to take a quick station break here, and we'll be right back here on WLTK-DB.com. It's the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea, with very special guest, Ankhasha Amenti. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Patty Negri.
Hi, I'm Pete Orbea.
Hi, this is Nicole Strickland.
My name is Hero.
My name is Sean Clem.
Hey everybody, Cleet Keith here, author of Ghost of Greystone Beverly Hills. I'm excited to invite you to the OC Paracon, which is going to be the first week in October.
Now that's just some of the people you're going to meet at Orange County Paracon. That would be Anaheim's first ever paranormal conference. I'm Henry, the organizer and also the host of Paranormal Perception, inviting you to meet those people that you just saw. You'll meet everybody, including some guests, some people that we haven't even announced on the website. It's going to be a surprise. Everything, info, tickets available on that website, ocparacon.com. Hope to see you to kick off our favorite time of the year in Anaheim at OC Paracon.
Take us with you on the go and download the new WLTK-DB mobile app. Search the App Store and Google Play under WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Download free today. The unexplained. It's all around us and usually supplies more questions than answers. You need answers. You need Cross Country Paranormal. Founded by Benjamin Young, CCP seeks to train, educate, and mentor anyone that has a passion for the paranormal. CCP is building a network of teams and investigations across the country, and all experience levels are welcome. Learn more about CCP on their website, ccpinvestigations.com, where you can find frequently asked questions, check out their equipment, follow their latest events, and of course, shop. Visit them now at ccpinvestigations.com. That's ccpinvestigations.com. Cross Country Paranormal. All are welcome. All are family.
Back here on the Paranormal Pete Show with special guest Ankhasha. And thanks for sticking around, everybody. And hope you enjoyed the first half of the show. We're talking about some pretty deep stuff, but I think it's stuff that is good to talk about and good to get out there and process. Ankhasha mentioned earlier in the show that, everyone's had their life touched, by suicide. And so I think it's, it is a deep and not a comfortable subject, but a subject that I think is helpful. And the fact that you've shared this in your new book, Crossing a Sea of Stars, it's, I don't know how you did it, but but you've gotten through it, and so super congratulations to you again on your first book, and maybe the only. I don't know. Are you gonna be? Do you have plans to write other books?
I do. I do
Okay,
now.
good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So before the break, I had asked you about, what did this experience teach you about life, death? And so what did it teach you about the afterlife? And then I wanted to ask you some mediumship questions in how you've dealt with that with your clients, with somebody who has taken their life as well. So tell us what did you learn from this experience about the afterlife?
Well, one of the things that my daughter mentioned to me, and this is interesting, I think, to people because a piece of the book is some of the messages that she's given to us after her death. And you asked about, what death taught us too, and actually, there was an experience when we were seeing my daughter for the first time after her death, and that was very heavy, right? But it was also, strangely enough, a very profound and deep experience because we were honoring her body that had been the vessel for her.
Mm-hmm.
And yet at the same time, we knew that she'd been released from that kind of pain that she'd been in. And it was very moving for my husband and I. I mean, we, of course, cried, but we also felt this closeness to her and this stillness. And it was an amazing experience. And at that moment, I heard her telling me that, not to cry, that it was not goodbye, that I would see her again. And it came immediately from behind me, and we were the only ones there, of course, with her. But so death to me is this really sacred mystery that we'll all enter into. And so I do honor it in that way. I think we're so afraid of it, and we as a society, as a culture, just push it away, that we don't really learn to accept it and to honor people, not just their memory, but also, who they are and who they are to us.
Yeah.
Then in the afterlife, it was interesting because, really, I found so many people who didn't really want to talk to me about it. They didn't want to. They would send, I'm sorry for your loss, and then run away, right? And I understand that because it is a difficult subject to broach.
Yeah.
But I found that especially in this kind of death, but in any death, people want to talk about their loved one. They don't mind if you use their name. And I encourage people to do that. I have some lessons in the book, near the end of the book, about how to speak to someone who's lost someone, especially by suicide. And I find that by being able to listen to them and let them cry, not to tell them, oh, don't cry, don't cry. There's people that will do that, right? It's okay. Don't cry. You'll get over it. That's not something you want to hear, nor is it really comforting to people. But I learned right away. My daughter was in connection with us right away. And I really like to stress to people, and some people don't believe this, but that's okay. That the experiences that I've had, and the mediums that I know who have had these experiences with people who have taken their own life is that they do make it. They do cross over. They're not stuck in some horrible place.
Yeah.
Many, many years ago, I was really actually walking by and a paranormal show was on, and they had someone who came on, and the individual, I knew the individual, and she had become a medium in a few months, and she was offering her advice to someone,
Okay.
to a mother who had lost her son by suicide. And her advice was, he's in a terrible, dark place, and he's trapped, and it's going to be years and years before he'll get out of this horrible, dark place.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart to hear that.
Indeed.
Because when you deal with someone in grief, that's just a horrible thing to say. My daughter has shared that there's one thing she shared was she kept saying, everything here is happening at once. And I said, what? I couldn't quite understand what she meant.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Right. And she said, everything that has happened and is happening and is going to happen is all happening at once. And
Interesting.
so I said, oh, okay. And then I talked to Loyd Auerbach about it. And I said, what does this mean? He said, that scientists are going into that phase where they're believing that time works like that everything is happening at once. I don't understand that concept. I'm probably not relaying it. I'm sure one of your listeners is able to explain it on a scientific level. I'm not a scientist, although I work with them all the time.
You're right.
But it was fascinating that she told us that.
Yeah.
So,
and it just goes to, it's just another piece of the puzzle of time, that she let you know about that, because time is, I think everybody experiences time differently. And on the other side, I think in some ways time is unique to each person, and as a spirit, as a ghost, whatever you would like to call them. But I think it's almost individualized for them as well.
Yes.
And it's such an interesting concept. Like, I had nothing like, it was nothing of that situation, but doing a reading for my wife. And I kind of got into this place that I'd never been before, and could see all these people behind her. But it was like time was wrong. It was like the clouds were moving super fast, but it was almost like a hyperlapse, like, where you take a lot of photos. But the clouds are moving fast, but everything else is moving slow. And I was just like, I was kind of confused, like, okay, which is it here? My brain's getting confused. The sky looks like it's moving fast, but everything else is like slow motion. And so I think that's an interesting thought to explore about the time. And did she ever give any other explanation to that? Anything that she added to that?
Well, she said that she could be anywhere at any moment by thinking.
Okay.
That she could be somewhere by thinking about it. And again, I went and called Loyd. What is this about? What does she mean? And he said, that has been some of the information that has been coming back from the afterlife from other people. Now, I will say that I was listening the other day to an interview with John Edward, who I admire greatly. And he said that people are always asking him, publishers are always asking him to write about the afterlife. And his response is, when I get there, I'll write about it. But he said, really, all I can tell you is some of the information that I've heard from people, but people on the other side are more interested in making connections with their loved ones here than they are trying to explain to us about the afterlife. And I think that I've read a lot of books on the afterlife, and there's hundreds of different ideas on what it's like. I've had people say, oh, on day 1, this happens. Day 2, this happens. Day 3, this happens. No, you go to this place. No, you go to this place. No, this happens. I think really it's very hard for us in this limited time to grasp it, in our limited minds to grasp it. So again, I try and turn my focus back to, okay, how does this affect me now in the here and now? And it has affected me tremendously. Her death, and looking back at her life, she lived life extremely full, which find out in the book how full.
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot about how to stay connected to people and the importance of that.
Yeah.
And how this is just really, as her Facebook page, if you ever visit her Facebook page, she had a quote by Bill Hicks, and there's a picture of Bill Hicks, the comedian,
Yeah.
who said, don't be afraid ever. This is just a ride.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that was her mantra that she lived her life by. She wasn't really afraid.
Just a ride. Yeah. And we're here for really, a short time in the scheme of things. And what the heck is time anyways,
Yes.
Yeah. Michael was commenting here. I missed a couple comments, but he was talking about this subject this morning. And I think some of the famous authors let their imagination into the equation when they talk about and describe the afterlife. I believe that we're only allowed to see small glimpses.
I agree.
Yep. Because they're, and everybody's life is a unique experience, which then you could maybe say everybody's afterlife experience is unique as well.
Sure. I will tell, I'm sorry, Pete.
No, go ahead.
Well, I will tell you the one thing that she shared that was so impactful to me. If I had a little more room, I'd tattoo it somewhere. No, I'll find room somewhere. But I said, so what was I supposed to know? What is the lesson? And she said, it's not about the afterlife, Mama. It's about this life. You need to stay here.
Interesting.
That was a difficult thing for me to think about because I wanted desperately to be with her, and missed her so much. But she shared with me how important it was that I stay here and continue to stay connected to especially the young women that need me, all the women that need me, and all my clients. But again, a majority of them are young women, and that I could stay connected to her through helping them. And so that's what I realized I needed to do. I needed to stay here. And that is the one message I would give to people is stay here. You've got a purpose here, even if you don't know what it is.
Right.
There's a purpose here.
Yeah, it's such a good way to think about it. And again, a lot of things you're talking about tonight of what you should feel, what you should, expect, and what you should do, and everything, that it's kind of really the opposite, from what we naturally want to go for. And I think it's so hard, and that's part of the human experience, I think, is to go against the grain of what our instincts are, and that might help explain things. And it's such a wonderful message. And Nikki commented that as well. Such a wonderful message that, no, it's important here where you are, that it's important to, to carry on, and that by helping others, that is a connection. And I've found that in readings for some of my clients of like helping this other person is going to be the connection that they get with the person they were trying to reach, and
Yes.
that they'll be there, they'll help them, they'll
Mhm.
help them help those others. And it's just, yeah, I feel like we could have probably a 10-hour conversation, but we got about 10 minutes left here.
Mhm.
And so we're talking about Ankhasha's first book, and congratulations again on getting your first one out there, Crossing a Sea of Stars. And although a deep subject, the messages sound very impactful. And I think it's what a lot of people don't want to say. And you've put yourself out there to say those things. And so people, by this weekend, go on Amazon and get a copy of it, and help spread that word to other people, because every family could probably use a little bit of these kind of messages, and not even in grief of a loss of someone who took their own life, but grief and loss in general. And those
Yes,
messages, it sounds, they kind of cross over, right,
they do.
to everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, one mediumship question, and then I got a fun one for you.
Okay.
So we'll end on a real fun note here.
Mhm.
Um, in your experience doing readings for people, connecting with their loved ones,
Mhm.
getting messages, giving those messages, how have you noticed in general someone who, now you said it's, your daughter was immediately with you guys,
Mhm.
and you shared kind of the sad story of someone saying, oh, they're in a terrible dark place.
Mhm.
Is there a different feeling to you? Like if somebody has not, a new client, whatever, has not told you about someone who's taken their life, how are you able to kind of discern that? Is it a certain feeling? Is it certain images? Is there kind of certain signs that always come up for you? How is it different than someone who had passed away by not taking their life?
Usually, I will get the first thing I always ask for, um, with, someone is their connection, what their connection is. So I
Okay.
asked them to show me the connection with the person, whether they're, an older person above them or to their side or below them.
Okay.
And then if that is verified that I'm in connection to the right person, then I start to ask for how did you pass? And then I get a lot of physical sensations
Okay.
immediately. I also hear a lot. I know a lot of people are all about, oh, I see this, I see that. Um, Mine is usually through hearing. I'll just hear them say
You're
something.
lucky.
I know.
You're lucky. That would be easier.
True, true. Um, and it and I go into kind of a place where I don't really know what I'm going to say. I just start to say it.
Okay.
And that has been something that has been helpful in the work that I've done, so that I'll just say it. And I'll just tell them they passed themselves over. They crossed themselves over.
Yeah.
And usually I'll feel how, whether it was through drugs in their system, whether it was through hanging or, something purposeful, a gunshot. I mean, it's something
Sure.
else. And, um, and so I'll let them know that. I don't edit things. I do my best not to edit anything on
That's the
stuff.
hard part.
It's very hard, but I found that if I do, it's the one thing that would have nailed it for that person, right? So that the sitter would say, "Oh, that is my brother. That is my best friend. That is my child."
Yeah.
I had a I had an interesting reading. I've had a couple of really interesting readings, but a lot over my years. But some of them kind of really stand out to me. One of them was I was reading for this person. I brought up this individual and given them a lot of information, and all of a sudden, this something just flashed on me, and I could see and hear a news program in front of me,
Okay.
And I saw 2 newscasters. And this is very strange because I do not, I like horror movies, but I don't like, killer movies, things I mean,
Slasher.
slasher movies, that's not interesting to me. I like vampire movies very much.
Okay.
What woman doesn't like a good vampire movie? But I love vampire movies, and I also like, movies that have a lot of psychological twist to them. So all of a sudden, I do not like, I've got to tell you, I do not like zombie. I don't understand the whole zombie fascination.
I hate zombie
You know,
movies. Yeah.
I've seen, I didn't even watch a whole thing. I just looked at kind of maybe 5-10 minutes of the zombie things on TV. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't get, the Walking Dead, I think it was. So I just went, I don't get it. So it's not scary to me. And it also is just wasn't interesting, I guess. So all of a sudden, though, I see these 2 newscasters and I said, zombies on television. And I went, just as I said it, I went, oh my gosh, I've blown it. What am I saying? And when you're talking with someone who's got someone who passed, talking about zombies is probably not the most appropriate thing to
Right. Right. Could be insensitive. Sure.
rather. But it was near the very last end. And this woman just, was very, expressive of, oh my gosh. She goes, but wait a minute. I don't understand what you mean. Zombies on TV. And I said, I'm sorry. That's all I just have to tell you what I see.
Right.
So then the next day, she sends me this long, lengthy message, and it's got pictures on it. She said, after we talked, I went over to my best friend's house, and he's the one who had got the brother or something who had passed.
Okay.
And he opened the door, and here's the t-shirt he was wearing. And he had a t-shirt on with a cartoon of 2 zombie newscasters on a television. And she said when I started to give him the message, he opened the door, and there it was. So I said, thank you for telling me that.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for following up.
Right.
Yeah, that's
But that was odd. That was weird. And I said, I learned a long time ago, you just need to say it. You need to just say what it is, no matter how odd, how strange it is.
Yeah.
And trust. You have to trust the other side.
Right.
I don't trust myself. I trust the other side.
Sure. And I think that's a great distinction to make, because I always felt like, well, I don't trust myself. So I doubt myself. And I think a lot of people go through that, but just trusting them. Yeah. It's hard not to edit when you're trying to understand something and you're almost thinking out loud. Well, nope, you just got to say what it is. And I'm learning more and more that, just go for it. And the more you do that, the less you're trying, and the easier it is for the communication to come through. And but it's one of those things that's like, you want to interpret, that sounds really bad, And people, if getting readings out there, yes, the follow up is really helpful. If you go and do some research from your reading and follow up, I mean, I think half the people leave a reading from me going, what in the world was that? But then I love getting the follow-up email or a message that's saying, oh my gosh, I asked this person about this, and I asked this, and sure enough, and here's the picture. And, it's so helpful for the medium to not feel like they let you down. Sure. Right. And or they leaving going, what?
They never let us down. We let ourselves down sometimes, and it takes time too. I think it's a process. We're never, anyone who says they're 100% accurate that's baloney. Use another word, but I won't use that. And Any medium who says that, oh, I get everything, I know everything, I see all, know all, I'm Madame Zelda, I can tell you everything. No,
Doesn't work like that.
no, it doesn't work like that, because we are human and we do make mistakes and everything, but they don't on the other side.
Right. Yes,
Mhm.
the universe has had time to figure things out.
Right,
Remember
right.
that. Much
Mhm.
longer than we've ever been around, even
Exactly.
over multiple lives. And Nikki's saying it's good to know. I'll make sure and follow up after readings from now on. Yeah. Yeah, because you can't, you don't want to leave the medium going, well, all right, I guess that was that.
Well, I think it also helps the medium for their process, because
Yeah,
if you say something and then they follow up afterwards and say, okay, this is how I connected it, it helps you track back to the feeling that you had at that
exactly.
moment and
Yeah,
say, okay, I was feeling that, seeing it, hearing it, whatever it might have been. Maybe what I should have said was X, and that would have been more clear. So now I know in the future, how to clarify it.
but yeah, you can maybe go back and
Mhm.
recapture that feeling,
Right.
kind of like a redial button on
Yep.
your phone, catching
Mhm.
that feeling. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Nikki said, "Oh, helps me fine tune." Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. And Michael's saying, "I will definitely be buying your book." So
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
me as well. And we're out of time, and it just sort of flies on this show. And I want to thank you again so much for taking time, and thank you also for being open and putting yourself out in the book, and the message that the book has. And so thanks for doing that, because like you said, it's not something easy to talk about.
Right.
And so thank you so much for that. And we will look forward to having you at the Port Gamble Ghost Conference,
Thank you.
November 11th through 13th. And your special event will be in the historic theater that
Yay.
has a history of hauntings
Mhm.
and a history of reports of hauntings. So I'm
Love it.
sure that'll be double the fun there. Be sure you go check out Ankhasha.com as well. And you're working on that one, right?
It is. My website's being relaunched because I've added a whole bunch of great new things.
That's
So
awesome.
it'll be up in a
Well,
few weeks, but
yeah,
you
and
can still get a hold of me through it.
right. So everyone out there, yeah, stay tuned to that website as well. And it's Crossing a
Mhm.
Sea of Stars.
Yep.
Check it out this weekend on Amazon and get ordered. There you go. Yeah, great cover and everything too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing everything you
Thank
did.
you.
And Nikki was saying thanks for being here tonight and talking about some difficult things. Great show. Yes, thank you very much. And I got Matt Phillips here. We'll get this
Mhm.
comment in here. After a Walker Ames investigation with you many years ago, you gave my wife and I gave us a short, I'm guessing, reading.
Mhm.
You came up with the name Margaret for me, which was my grandma that had passed away many, many years ago. That was not a common name, so I knew you were for real since.
Oh,
Very
thank
nice.
you, Matt.
Yeah, you got to come back to the Walker Ames house and see everybody and say
Love it.
hello.
It's a
You know,
beautiful, beautiful energy there.
Yep. Yeah, and everybody's still doing pretty good there.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah, I check in on there all the time. So,
What you do.
I kind of have to.
Right.
But I leave every show with the toast. Same one as the last time I had you on, and I think it's really pertinent just from what you were talking and some of the overall messages you were conveying tonight, that the
Mhm.
past is history and the future is a mystery, but today's a gift because it's the present. And
Mhm.
it's about being present. And it's real hard to do that. You got to make the conscious effort, and it's something that I myself will admit I have to work on as well. And we all have to work on it in some way. But be present, be there in the moment, put the phone down, be there with the people you're with, hug
Mhm.
the people you're with, listen to what they have to say, and things are going to go well for you, I think. But you got to try, you got to put the effort in. And Ankhasha, thank you so much again. It's always fun to have you on the show, and fun to talk to you and get your perspective on things. So I hope to have you on again. maybe around Ghost Conference time. And I'd love to have you back on. And everybody have a great week. Be well. Hug the ones you're with. Hug everyone else virtually a little while longer. Hang in there, but be safe, be well. And we'll see everybody next week on WLTK-DB.com. And this is the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea. And again, special thanks to Ankhasha. Now if I can figure out the technical side here.
Don't ask me.
Yeah. Do you know how to run this?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's these? Here we go. Yeah. Thank you so much, and be well, and keep in touch.
Okay. Stay away from trees.
Yeah, I will stay away from trees. Yes. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.